and welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. It's episode 90 for the week of August 23rd, 2020. I'm Drew. I'm joined by Will. What's up?
Episode 90. That's bizarre in a good way.
We are 10 episodes away from a major milestone. I mean, right now, every episode is a milestone for us. But, you know, here in the United States, we kind of tend to celebrate things on like either 10-year bases or 25-year bases or, you know,
sure.
100. I don't know why I'm using years. Like, it's not like we've been doing this 100 years.
No, but there's like a national holiday for everything now. Like you have National Donut Day. Is there a National Podcast Day?
Oh, I'm sure there is.
There's got to be.
Well, I have good news for you, my friend. Today is National Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective Day.
You just made it up?
Yes.
Well, sure. Let's send it, dude. Send it.
Mark your calendars.
Yeah.
Jot that shit down. Make
Add
sure.
Shit.
Yeah. Oh man, how are you?
I'm well, man. I can't complain. Things are much better than they were, you know, the previous compared to the previous week or so, you know, with all of my shenanigans. So things are becoming more normal and more streamlined again. So outside of that, how are you?
Tired. I'm just like, it's so weird, man. Like, I have like a weird rotating schedule at work, and some weeks I have are shorter and some weeks I have are longer. And the shorter weeks are always more exhausting for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. And this is one of those shorter weeks. I'm just like completely burned out. I woke up tired. I woke up like pissed at the world. And then work was like a shit show. Like if like my department could have been on fire for 8 hours, it probably was. And it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like anything like negative or bad. You know, there wasn't like drama or anything. Like it was just like one thing after another with like equipment failures. All shit that's like out of our control.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all like annoying shit. It wasn't like catastrophic shit, but it was like annoying shit.
That's annoying.
It's the worst because like I'd almost rather have catastrophic because at least there's like the sense of like accomplishment when you deal with it. But when it's like the annoying shit that doesn't go away and you don't really ever see the resolution, I hate that.
You know, that makes me think about my car. You know, it's like when I said last week, you know, I got excited because I got to call 911. And, you know, when you see bird shit on your car, it's just annoying. But when you get to call 911 because there's a tree on your car, it's like, fuck yeah. You know, it's catastrophic time.
Yeah. I never thought I'd hear you compare a tree falling on your vehicle to bird shit.
Oh, yeah. 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 You got to get excited about some weird shit sometimes, you know. I think Joe Rogan said it best. He's like, if you never came close to shitting your pants, you're not taking enough chances in life.
That's a pretty good like slogan and a pretty good mantra. However, I feel like if you're frequently coming close to shitting in your pants, then perhaps you're taking the wrong chances.
I feel like I may have shit my pants once in my life.
I have. I will admit it.
That's one way to reveal it. Yeah.
I was young and I was sick, and I'm not even going to go into the details, but yes, it happened. And yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. As long as it's backed up with when I was a kid. I mean, if it was when you were an adult, you better have a damn good reason behind it.
Yeah.
Because if it was just sheer laziness, then
no.
I can't speak to you. I can't look at you.
It was this whole circumstance, and maybe one of these days I'll get into it, but probably never. So, anyway, thanks for downloading this show. We are Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. Yes, we're going to talk about video games, I promise you. Follow us on the web at WDGRPodcast.com. You can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGRPodcast. Will, tell us your SoundCloud, please.
Sure. SoundCloud.com/Will_gear.
You can find me at ScienceStorm. take a moment to talk about this newest track. I have not had an opportunity to hear it, but I understand it's gaming inspired.
Yes. So it's interesting. A lot of my tracks just kind of come about when literally just messing with sounds, working on something else. So it ends up being kind of unintentionally created. And that's what happened with this one. And a lot of times when that happens, it ends up being something pretty special. And I like this one because it was happening while I was creating or working on a project for somebody else. And I just kind of was cycling through sounds, and I heard a couple of sequences, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds good. Let me build on this." And that's what happened. And then I released it, and I was like, "This kind of reminds me of like a selection screen when you're like choosing your car in like an arcade game or something." And I was like, "Yep, that's what I'm going to call it." Launched it out. Got quite a few hits very quickly, so that's always a good thing. And shared it for today's Music Monday. So for everyone listening, check out our website. And you will be able to find the track there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. I have not had an opportunity to sit with it. I apologize. I'm a terrible friend. But
You'll get to it.
Well, tomorrow I'm off, so there will be no excuses. I'm going to sit down with the headphones on, and I'm going to listen to that shit.
Yeah, headphones is a must. I stress that with the music that I've been putting out, because I've noticed when I listen to it on my phone, my laptop, my studio speakers, and headphones, like all four of those, obviously you're going to get the best sound out of headphones or nice quality speakers, but out of a phone, it's pretty much trash.
Yeah.
It almost sounds different. Like it sounds like there are different sounds that are non-existent, and I'm like, oof. Hopefully most people are not listening on their phones.
Well, there's, it's interesting because I've always found that different speakers bring out different tones and frequencies that, in some ways, maybe it's a good thing, and in others it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you listen to like your favorite album, and if you listen to something that's really well produced, you're going to find layers in there that you didn't know existed if you listen on, say, a mono speaker versus, stereo speakers and things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, even when I'm creating with my studio quality headphones, they're great. But usually what I do now is I say, "Hey, Lauren, do you mind like pausing Grey's Anatomy so I can play this through my studio speakers?" Because I want to make sure that I'm hearing the final mix through the speakers, because those are the best. Second best would be headphones.
Right. Yeah, and you have a pretty nice set of monitors too. Are those actual like reference monitors, or are they just higher end speakers?
They are entry-level studio reference monitors.
Okay.
I know that's kind of like a long way of describing them, but they were purchased within the sort of studio reference speaker room of Guitar Center. But I didn't want to spend, like $300 each on speakers.
Yeah.
So I remember the guy was like, "Hey man, like, yeah, I think these are going to be good. You said you like JBL." And I was like, "Perfect, wrap them up." And I was under the impression they were like $200 or $300 for the pair, but it was like $200 or $300 each. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh, and that doesn't come with the cables either. Yeah. Let's go with those smaller M audios for $100 for the pair. And he was like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And honestly, I love these things. When COVID settles down and we can start being a little closer, then next time you come over, I'll crank these things on and give you a listen.
Hell yeah, man! I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So, well, let's we got a lot of gaming talk on the docket today. So let's dive right in, man. What have you been playing?
Not a whole lot. However, I'm not going to sound like a stuck record, but there is a reason for it. It is the music thing, which I've been cranking out a lot of stuff, which is great. However, I do know that I've been slacking the gaming department, so I made a better effort this Sunday to sort of rekindle the co-op playthrough that I have going with Tom with Dark Souls 1 Remastered.
Nice.
We skipped a couple Sundays. One was for obvious reasons, the power outage, and then a couple others I think we just kind of forgot about. But yeah, we got back to it, and man, it was eventful. We usually try to start in the morning, early, because Tom is usually up at like 4:20 a.m. on a Sunday. I'm not even joking. And he has a bedtime of 4:20 p.m. So so that's kind of his routine. I'm exaggerating, but needless to say, we fired it up. We had to kind of get our bearings again because it had been, obviously a couple weeks since we played. And it was a lot of fun. We finished up a section called Anne Orlando, which is one of the locations in the game that is quite challenging. We had to spend quite some time there, just, again, getting our bearings, dealing with invaders, and then finally getting to the boss and beating the boss on both of our worlds. And when I say worlds, it's because we have to do it on his, and then we have to do it on mine. So it's this game of like going back and forth, and it sounds really tedious, and it kind of is, but it's fun. And if you like the game as much as Tom and I do, then it's not a nuisance.
So when you say like your worlds, like, can you kind of like explain what you mean by that?
Sure. So if I'm alive, if I'm alive in the game, which means that I have a humanity and I've reversed my hollowing, then I can summon Tom into my world. So I can literally bring his character into my map or area, and he can fight with me. He can go throughout the whole level with me, and if he dies, then I just have to summon him again. And that is what we call playing in my world. If I play in his, it's the same sort of thing. I can be alive or dead, and he can summon me as long as he's alive. So it's kind of an interesting system. It's fairly straightforward, but it can get a little confusing when you go to try to summon Tom, and then his sign doesn't appear, and you're like, oh, right, I'm still hollowed. Whoops. And then you got to go back to a bonfire, take a humanity if you don't have one equipped, reverse your hollowing, get alive, and then summon him. So there are rules behind how you can summon. So that's what we did. We fought Smo and Ornstein, which are two of the toughest bosses in the game, probably in the entire franchise's history. Very challenging, but if you have a good rhythm going and you can pick up a third person, it can make the fight a lot more easy. So we did that, and then we went to another level called the Painted World of Ariamis. Always a tough one to say, but I think that's how it's pronounced, and pretty cool. You can enter this painting within Anne Orlando, which kind of opens up a portal into that world, and it's this really cool, frozen, dark world where you kind of enter in and you're on a bridge that's covered in ice and snow, and you can hear like werewolves howling in the background. It's got a really eerie tone, very similar to Bloodborne, I'd say. And we had a pretty easy go in there. It can be challenging with some of the enemies, but we did quite well. We fought some mini bosses and some invaders. We were really messing with one of the invaders because he kept invading our world and occasionally killing one of us or both of us. So Tom goes, dude, follow me over here. And he was able to figure out where he was spawning in when he would invade us. And he stood right behind his spawn point. So when the guy would spawn in, he wouldn't know that Tom was behind him. And then Tom was just totally cheesing him with this miracle that's called Wrath of God, where like when he activates it, it just creates this area of effect attack that is incredibly strong and cheap. And when this guy poured it in, I remember one of the times that we killed him, he came in and I hid. So Tom and I play these like really sneaky games with invaders. So he'll be like, all right, dude, go hide over there. There's somebody coming. And I'll hide. And then when the invader sees Tom, he thinks that Tom's the only one in the world. But turns out I'm hiding around the corner. So I'll come out and just stab him in the back a couple times, and the guy just gets absolutely toasted.
That's hilarious.
So we play a lot of Invader games. Fans that are listening to the show now that have played the Soul series will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a dog-eat-dog environment when it comes to invaders and invading. So we did that, and we fought the boss a few times in that level, and we did a few other things. And believe it or not, just doing what I had explained just now took at least, let's see, we probably started at 8:30, 9 a.m. We weren't done until 12-ish. So
wow,
it takes time.
It's a pretty lengthy session for you.
Yeah, the worlds are big, and if you die, you have to do certain things, and it's not like you're playing Apex Legends or Call of Duty where you just kind of respawn and just do it again. There are things that you have to kind of redo, reset, and unless you have a good rhythm going, it can take some time. because you're doing the same thing on each person's world. So it's like you're helping me go through a level, and then I help you go through a level. It's that simple.
It's just very bizarre to me. Like, I would think that, if you're going through the same level, whether it's your world or his world, it would qualify for both. But, if they got a system down that works, then, who am I to say? I've never played the games.
Yeah, well, the idea behind summons really, from a game developer perspective, is that you're supposed to summon people when you're having an issue or you're having a hard time with a boss or an area. You look for a summon sign, you bring that person in, they help you through it, and then you're on your own again. It's not really designed to be a co-op game from a true sense. Something like Portal 2 is obviously a co-op game.
Right.
But it can be done, and we have figured out how to do it, and it can just create this really memorable journey where Tom and I can sit there for hours, telling people about all of the crazy things that we did over the years. And we're going through everything. We're doing 2 after this, then we're going to do 3, and then finally, hopefully, we're going to finish Bloodborne.
Does Sekiro have any sort of mode like this?
Not that I'm aware of. He mentioned also that there might be an easy mode now, because I had stressed to him how much I want to finish that game, and still having obviously a lot of challenges with it. So if there is an easy mode, I may pull a Final Fantasy VII Sephiroth and go ahead and turn that easy mode on and get that game completed, because I love that game, but man, the challenge makes me want to cry, and I don't want to cry.
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, I only sampled that game briefly, and I was doing like a tutorial.
Oh yeah,
that was quite the challenge.
So if there is some kind of co-op mode in Sekiro, I think that would be amazing, because it would make the game more enjoyable, I think, from a boss perspective, because outside of the bosses, it's not that challenging. It's the bosses that get you.
Right.
That get you to... They're basically saying, come on, Will, just curl up in a ball like you want to do and cry your eyes out. It's okay. You're not going to beat the game. You're not going to beat me. So you might as well just cry and keep going over and over again, and keep watching your tutorials on YouTube of how everybody else did it so easly, and then try again and cry. So that's kind of where I'm at. But moving on from that, now, Drew.
Yes.
I want to sort of announce some news of yours for you. Okay?
Okay.
So to start, you and I typically beat a video game once every 4 years, and it's usually a 2-hour game. And from what I've gathered, in our recent conversations, you've beaten 3 video games.
Yeah, 3 2-hour.
See, there it is. Cat's out of the bag. Now, we've already etched this accomplishment into our imaginary stone wall of victories. But what we've yet to do is tell our listeners out there what games these are.
Yeah, man.
And what made them special enough to have you beat them. So you have 3 months of PlayStation Plus, and without further ado, Drew, let's start with Game 1. Tell us what the game is, give us a consensus, and then tell me and our devoted listeners how you accomplished this beating of a game that we are still becoming familiar with. I'm all ears.
All right. So the first game is Carrion, which
Tetsuo's arm.
Yes. I played that on the Xbox using Xbox Game Pass. All of these games were played on the Xbox. I've been taking advantage of Game Pass lately. It's pretty great. If you're interested in playing games without buying them, I mean, obviously you have that subscription model that you're working with, so it's a little like Netflix in that respect. I'm still working my way through that massive deal from the beginning of the year where you like upgrade and your Xbox Live account and you get like, many months for $1 of the Game Pass. So Carrion is essentially a unique twist on the Metroidvania formula. where you're playing as a hideous monster. You don't really get too much in the way of detail. There's not any dialogue in the game directly. There are some flashbacks that you go through where you're playing as scientists kind of unearthing this. And I think I may have missed one or two of the flashbacks because there's some gaps in the story that I don't really have fleshed out. But you are this creature, and it's unclear whether you are an alien from another world or something that is dug up from the earth or just a scientific experiment gone wrong. I think that's where my flashbacks failed me. But you break out of this underground facility and start slaughtering everybody. And you start out by slaughtering scientists, and then eventually you start encountering people that are armed with like handguns. And then you start to encounter military that have like automatic weapons. And then you encounter military that have flamethrowers. And this entire time you're using stealth and misdirection and the ability to crawl through vents and up walls to attack and get out of this facility and make it to basically the mainland.
Dude, this is totally like a sequel to Inside.
Very much so. Very much so. It is a Devolver Digital published game. It is developed by Phobia Game Studios. I'm not sure what they've done previously. Their Wikipedia doesn't exist. So if anybody's listening and they're familiar with them, please let us know. It's an indie game developer based out of Warsaw, Poland.
That's
and
cool.
The game does have a very inside feel in a lot of ways. You know, it's a dark, depressing, moody game. But it's a very different experience because if you're familiar with the Metroidvania formula, basically you're given a 2D platform to work with that has you go from screen to screen, and as you're going through the game, you start unlocking abilities that will grant you access to certain areas that you didn't previously have access to. So you have to backtrack to kind of get to the next power up, and you find yourself kind of going all over the map, getting these different abilities so that you can go back to an area that you were previously in that you could not access the first time, and it brings you all over the place, right? And some of the abilities are really cool. You know, at your base level, all you can do is kind of like grab things with your tentacle and eat them. So this is definitely like a kind of like a Cthulhu inspired kind of thing. You're this red monster with these tentacles, and you grab people by the legs and you like literally eat them, and you shake your many mouths as you're eating them and throw their torso in one direction and their legs in another. And you know, it's all very 16-bit, so you're not going to see anything that's going to necessarily give you vivid nightmares, maybe.
Sure 8-bit violence.
Yeah, 8-bit violence. And then eventually you upgrade your form into, I encountered 3 different versions. There's like a small monster, a medium monster, and a large monster, right? Okay. And the small monster is very basic. You know, you're kind of quick. Let me see if I can try to remember the specifics of the power-ups, because I did not have an opportunity to take notes on this game.
Sure.
But the small monster had the ability to cloak itself eventually. So like there's certain like security cameras that may have like missile launchers on them that will kill you in one hit, or maybe there's a section that you have to get through where you're trying to dodge somebody that has a weapon that could kill you. So you could cloak, sneak past them, and move on to the next thing, or turn around and you know, destroy them. The medium-sized monster has the ability to kind of like do like a battering ram, where you launch all of your tentacles at an object, and depending on what the object is made of, it'll destroy it. Or if it's a human, you'll like pierce them with these tentacles and destroy them. And then there's another version where when you're larger, there's like an upgrade of that where you can kind of break through even larger objects. You also get the ability to do like a mind control so you can like kind of shoot a tentacle under the floor and weave it up as like a ladder and then like just jack into somebody's brain. And now
that's cool.
Yeah, now you can move that person and that you have access to their weapons if they have weapons or if they have like a key card. And every screen that you encounter is basically a puzzle, right? So you're looking at this screen and yeah, you can just kind of walk right in and just wreck shit, but that might not necessarily be the solution. Like maybe there's, drones flying around on the screen that are going to get you if you don't sneak in underneath versus above. Or perhaps there's, there's like these mechs, kind of reminds me of like the Power Walkers from Aliens.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do, actually.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that, but with like a chain gun attached to it, right? And that'll just destroy you too.
Deadly.
And then there's some situations where, maybe you'll like literally kill everybody, but you realize, oh shit, like I needed to take control of somebody's mind. Well, you can still do that even if they're dead. Like you can still possess dead people, walk them around and accomplish what you need. It's a really unique game, man. It wasn't perfect, by any means, I would say. The lack of a map I found to be kind of frustrating at points. Obviously a monster can't read a map. I get that.
Yeah, but you should be able to.
You should as a player. And plus, like, this monster obviously has the wherewithal to know that it needs to go in and like reclaim all these different biological samples to upgrade itself. So like there's a level of disbelief that you can kind of suspend.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fairly small game. The map isn't too massive. So I would say that being able to view a map would be helpful, but it's not a deal breaker.
Okay. Did you find yourself getting lost often or? Occasionally,
yeah. There were a couple points towards the end of the game where I wasn't really sure where I had to go. Like I was just missing like that like second to last piece of the puzzle, that last piece. Like there's an ability that I needed to unlock and I had no idea where it was. And I did find myself referring to a couple walkthroughs once or twice just to kind of re-get my bearings and everything. More to point me in the direction, not to tell me how to beat the section or anything of that nature, but to just kind of nudge me where I needed to go.
Sure.
But for the most part, the game is very smooth about guiding you in the direction that you need to go. When you first start out, you're very limited. You don't have all these different power-ups that are going to get you through like these difficult barriers or, through those automated missiles, because you don't have the ability to cloak or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really kind of tunneled down one direction. And it has a very natural flow that brings you to the next section of the base. And little by little, you're working your way through this kind of like guided tour of all these different science labs and military bases and each section kind of has like its own thing. Like there's a nuclear reactor that you go through, and when you get to those areas, maybe your job is to disrupt the nuclear reaction, or maybe your job is to sabotage something from the military base. You find these canisters that basically have like organic samples in them. And when you get to those, you can unlock them. And those are what gives you your power-ups and ultimately not only make you grow larger in size, but will also give you the different abilities that you have. Like, for example, taking control of somebody's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, there's this very interesting save system where as you're going through each section, there's like these, not entirely sure what to call them, but they look like holes in the wall, right? And you can go into them and essentially possess them and like leave part of your body there. And you'll see like your monster kind of like sprawls out and takes over the entire area. And now that's a save point, and you can return to that save point. So let's say you've taken some damage, right? Like you've gotten into a fight and somebody set you on fire, and you took a lot of damage before you were able to put yourself out in water. When you take damage, you lose like your upgrade, right? So you have like three. You have small, medium, and large, right?
Mm-hmm.
And each version of that small, medium, and large has, I want to say, 5 like hit points. So if I'm at full health at large, and I take 6 hit points, now my character is medium sized, right?
Okay.
If I take like another 4 or 5 hit points, now I'm small sized, and you can regenerate that by eating people, or by returning to a save point where you've previously saved, and it'll bring you back to whatever size you were when you made that save. So if I'm at full health at that save point, I can go and resave, and I'll basically regenerate my full health. So it's kind of weird. Took a little bit to kind of figure out, but it's pretty unique. It gives you an opportunity to kind of retreat, replan your situation, and get back in the fight. And there's a lot of these save points around too. It was very rare that I felt like I was forced so far away from where I died, which is really nice.
That's cool. I mean, at least you have options like that instead of having the map that was not present there.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the map would have been more beneficial, but they didn't punish you for dying too much. Failure isn't necessarily the end of the world.
Uh-huh.
It's just you just kind of take a step back and get back into the fray of things again. I'm trying to think of what else there is. I don't really remember a lot about the music. It wasn't offensive. It fit the style of the game, but I don't remember it being anything too noteworthy either. But again, I play on TV speakers most of the time at night.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the air conditioner running and my wife trying to sleep, sometimes playing is for the sound effects is not the best way. Like I really should probably get a good headset at one of these days. But
you got to do something. I still can't fathom like the idea that not even an idea, the reality that you're using TV speakers for anything. I guess that's just because I'm a music and audiophile snob, but damn, dude. I mean, I'm aware of this catastrophe that you face, but TV speakers are. I can't even remember last time I used a TV speaker for anything.
Well, I mean, sometimes you just want to hear, but you don't really care how it sounds. Like I have listening environments that I choose, and when I'm gaming, it doesn't necessarily have to be about the full oral experience. Sometimes I'm just going to sit down on my sofa for half an hour and play a video game. And I don't want to go through the whole hassle of putting on headphones and setting everything up. Like, I just want to turn on and play.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
so
fair.
It's different situations, Like, because I consider myself an audiophile too.
Mm-hmm. I know.
But it's sometimes it's just not practical. It's just not necessary.
Yeah. I hear it. I mean, I guess it's, I'm just a snob. I feel like there's this, like, I guess for me, it's either soundbar or it's headphones or nothing else.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I got nothing.
Yeah, I got nothing too.
And that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But yeah, man, like this was a really interesting game. It was fun. It was different. Being the monster that, usually when you're in a video game, you're playing the characters that are hunting the monster. But that was not the case here,
That's why it really does remind me of this strange combination of Akira and Inside.
And I think that's an apt description. We joked around quite a bit in the Discord room about the Akira reference, because it is so apt.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you realize that this character that you're playing as grows, to all these different sizes. You evolve, you get more defense, more offense, and it does remind me of Tetsuo's arm just mutating into this like gigantic tentacle.
Mm-hmm.
But
I could go back and watch that movie again.
it's a fantastic film. I haven't seen it in probably 10 years, but man, what a great movie.
Yeah, I think once every like 5 years is good for that one because it's kind of like I mean, Fight Club I think should be every year, but in terms of Akira, I think once every 5 years is good because it kind of gives you this perspective of how the government and other societies and organizations can be performing experiments on people or things, and I don't know, it's such a heavy film. But yeah, real good.
I agree.
So, what else?
Well, let's see here. So just a quick note here. I'm looking through the Wikipedia entry to see if I can find what I missed in those flashbacks, and it does turn out that your monster was originally found, quote, in a dormant state of biomass by 3 scientists, and upon wakening killed 2 and possessed the 3rd. And then security forces execute the remaining scientists and force the creature out. So, spoiler alert, you do escape the facility at the end. Apparently, you escape as the original scientist that you had possessed. So I missed those flashbacks. I'm a little disappointed that I did. There are some secrets in the game that you have to kind of track down and find. It must have been one of them, but good game. If you're looking for something, reasonably short, I think you could probably beat this in a weekend. I put in about maybe 6 or 7 hours into it tops, but I think it's worth checking out.
I think so. I mean, my interest is kind of peaked.
It is available on Windows, Switch, and Xbox One, so you're out of luck.
Ah,
yeah.
Damn.
I'm sure eventually it'll come over to the PlayStation. I can't imagine why it wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
So, but it's worth checking out. I think it's. I don't know that I would give it like a 9 out of 10. I think there are some flaws to it, but I think it's a solid game, worth your time. 7.5, maybe an 8.
Okay, that's still a great rating.
Yeah. After that, I dove into a game called Afterparty, which is published and developed by a company called Night School Studio. They do have some games that are already out there, which I was not aware of, but they are the developers for Oxenfree, which is a very popular indie game. I do have a copy of that. I think I may try to, fast track that to my must play list. I've heard good things about it over the years, but now that I have something from the developer to kind of go off of, like, it really piqued my interest, right? So Night School Studio has developed this game. It's called Afterparty, and basically we're looking at a dialogue-driven adventure game. You are playing as 2 characters, Milo and Lola. They are graduates of a high school, and they're getting ready to go into college. Or, I'm sorry, they're graduating college. They're getting ready to move on with their lives. And surprise, you're actually in hell.
Oh, jeez.
And you're dead.
Wow.
So this whole intro sequence has the 2 of them at a party, and they're both very awkward people. They're kind of like, they grew up together. They're best friends. They kind of keep to themselves. They went to the same college, but now they're getting ready to both go their separate ways. And one of them is going to, if I recall, one of them is going to move across the country while the other one stays home and works at like their parents' business, right? And there's some tension about that. They both kind of wish that they were keeping together. One of them resents them for staying. One of them resents the other one for leaving. But long story short, they're both dead, so it doesn't matter. And they're in hell, and they have no recollection of how they died, how they got there. They are assigned what they call a personal demon. The demon's name is Sister Mary Wormhorn. And Sister Mary Wormhorn's job is to just kind of randomly show up and torture them.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say right now. This is bizarre.
So I think it's very important to mention right now before I get into any further details. This is played as a comedy. This is a ridiculous unrealistic, just off the wall, dialogue driven comedy. Okay. So you're getting a lot of tongue in cheek jokes, a lot of stuff that just is really left to center, bizarre, but hilarious. Like, this game is just, it has so much charisma to it. And I hesitate to even call it a game, because you're really just kind of playing through an experience. There's not a lot of actual gaming, right? Like, you're controlling these characters and moving them around, but you're really just having conversations with other people. You know, you're trying to get out of hell. And these two, Milo and Lola, meet a psychopomp cab driver by the name of Sam. And Sam kind of lets it slip that the only way to get out of hell is to beat Satan in a drinking game.
Jesus. This is just like, it's this absurd.
Yeah. So they realize that they need to be invited to drink with Satan. They need to get into Satan's party, right? Satan has this huge party at his house. And in order to get into the party, they need an invite. They can't just walk in the door and show up and knock on the door, right? So they go all over hell and they run these errands, and Sam is helping them out because, you know, she's driving them in the cab from point A to point B. Eventually they get the invite. They go in, and Satan himself is like, yeah, I'll party with you guys, but you got to prove yourself that you can outdrink me first. In order to do that, they have to go get the seals of approval from Satan's brothers and sisters, the monarchs of hell. So at this point, you have kind of a couple paths that you can go down, right? You only need a couple of the seals. And you can choose, like, there's a couple spots where, like, in order to get the invite into Satan's party, like, you could choose whether or not you're going to help one person that's in hell or another one. I chose to help the rock star that like overdosed or something. Try to hook up with her old band, and when you're helping them out, you're really not doing much. You're just kind of like having conversations with people, choosing what to say. And a big element of this game is drinking, right? So when you're having these conversations, occasionally you're presented with a dialogue tree, and you'll have an item on the left or an item on the right. It's very much kind of like a Mass Effect thing. You know, be an asshole, be a good guy. And then depending on what beverage you're drinking, there'll be a third option in the middle that will take on the personality traits of whatever that beverage gives you. So let me try to find one of the examples here. Afterparty.
This is fucking bizarre, man.
It is such a bizarre game. So, like, for example, here, there's a drink called the Bloody Stool. It loosens you up and makes you extra flirty with those around you. There's another one called Famous Last Words, which lets you kind of bully those around you with playground insults, and it amps up your competitive side. And your choices are going to be dictated by whether or not you've been drinking that beverage, how much of it you've had. There's one called Jeffrey Bomber. It gives you a flirtatious attitude that attracts humans and demons. Is also a great way to distract your opponents. There's one called it's called Literally Acid, and the description is literally acid. So it's a very tongue-in-cheek, bizarre experience that revolves around alcoholism, but it's a kind of a heartwarming story in a lot of ways too, because the way the game is portrayed, you know, you're in hell, and from 9 to 5, the demons torture the humans, right? But 5 o'clock, the proverbial work whistle goes off, and everybody's off the clock, and then they all go drinking together because they're both in hell. The demons don't really want to torture the humans. The humans don't really want to be tortured. At the end of the day, everybody's just doing their part, right? They're just doing their job. And they're going to all go to the bar and get shit-faced and then do it all again the next day.
So strange. I'm going to have to look into this because I just need to be able to see it to understand it.
Yeah, it is a weird game. It has a stunning art style. It's very cartoonish, very colorful, very bright. It kind of reminds me of like you're perpetually in a club, even when you're like riding around like the seas of hell, which are like on fire, you know, covered in lava and, there's spewing magma up in the background, right? But then like you land and there's like this line for this huge party that's wrapping around like 6 levels of a mountain that goes up to the top of Satan's like house, right? So people are waiting in line for literal weeks to party with Satan. And like you can eavesdrop on their conversations and kind of get like this world building that's going on. And there's some really funny shit in this game. The voice acting takes it to another level. One of the main characters is actually played by Ashley Birch, who is the voice of Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn. But she's done a ton of things. In fact, I think she was involved in Last of Us 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the name definitely rings a bell.
Yeah, she's done a ton of stuff. Let's see here. I mean, if you look at her Wikipedia page, it's just a gigantic list. Oh yeah, she played Mel in Last of Us 2. She had a supporting role in Mythic Quest, Raven's Banquet, which is a TV show on Apple TV. Absolutely fantastic show. I think I've spoken about that on the podcast before. But she's been doing voice acting for games since 2012. So she's got quite a resume, and she brings it with this character Sam, who I really don't want to like go into spoilers with this particular game because there's a lot. I mean, the entire game is story driven. With a game like Carrion, there's really not much there. This game has a lot of detail, and I don't really want to expose the best part of it for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, strangely enough, I may want to play it.
I highly recommend it. It's a very relaxing game. You're not going to get stressed out about it. There are occasionally points of the game where you're going to have like a dance-off against one of Satan's other demons, right? One of the monarchs of hell. There's another one where, what the hell was it? So you had the dance off. There's this courtroom scene where you have to decide the fate of somebody. And as you're going through this, you start to hear about this kind of takeover, right? It sounds like the monarchs of hell are trying to steal power from Satan. But not everything ends up being what it seems. And there's a lot of mystery with that. It's a really bizarre game.
Yeah, I'm like literally I've got this pill just like stuck in my throat right now trying to swallow it, I'll
try to track down some YouTube videos for you, man. That I think that will kind of give you a little tease without like, ruining anything. I had a blast with this game. It was thoroughly enjoyable. It wasn't challenging like at all. Like this game is not meant to challenge you. This game is meant to be experienced, and it is a fun experience. It is a wild ride. It is dark. It is moody. It is hilarious, and it tells a wonderful story of 2 people who are best friends, and they're going through some shit. And it's set in this bizarre universe. I'm not a religious person, so a lot of the biblical talk kind of went over my head, but it doesn't matter. Like it's a background to the story. Like they're not talking about like, whether God is good or God is bad. They're just using the mythology of the Bible to establish this world that they're in. And it is, it's worth your time, man. I can't recommend it enough. It's short, another 6-hour game, weekend game to sit down with it. And, if you were to fire it up Friday night, you could easily finish it by Sunday night.
I like the sound of that. I like the sound of shorts.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, think about it, right? I played Doom Eternal, and that was like way too fucking long. And then I played The Last of Us 1, which was pretty bite-sized comparatively. Then, not long after that, I played The Last of Us 2, which was like this marathon. And coming off of The Last of Us 2, like, I was just, like, burned out. Like, what do I do now? What do I play next? And I'm like, I got to play some short games. So, I went from Carrion to this, which is a vastly different game. And I don't regret it one bit. This is something that I've had on my list for a little while now. I'm glad I took the time to play it.
Well, you and I are both kind of in a similar boat, right? We both got off this AAA train, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to actually potentially fire something small up. As much as I need to get back to Ghost and I want to get back to Ghost, there's always going to be that part of me that wants to fire up Shadow of the Colossus or, The Last Guardian, just anything that I know is shorter, just so I can feel that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that I feel like you and I kind of have like a game type, right? Like we'll venture out into other things here and there, but you and I both kind of have like this type of game that we play, it's like our comfort zone that we'll always go to. And I feel like with these 3 games, I kind of broke out of that comfort zone. Maybe not so much with Carrion, but definitely with this one and the 3rd game that I beat, the Touryst. And I'm kind of glad I broke out of my shell with these two particular games, because they offered such vastly different experiences than what I've ever really played. And I'm glad I took the time to spend with them, even though with the Touryst, I kind of walked away underwhelmed. And for those that are listening and not familiar with it, it's Touryst with YST rather than IST. There is an in-game reason for that I will not divulge. But it's a voxel-based platformer that I feel like tries to do too many different things. It kind of markets itself as a type of game where you can go swimming or deep sea diving or visit the amusement park or go shopping or dance. And it all loosely ties into like this overarching story of mystery where you run into this old tourist and he finds these ancient monuments that kind of have this mystery to them. Like, why are they here? Where did they come from? What's the deal with them? So you start exploring these monuments, and this is where like the platforming and the puzzling comes in. And, each monument kind of has its own different way of behaving. But the ultimate goal at the end of each monument is to pick up a blue orb and bring it back to the central hub. And it unlocks, basically one part of a key that leads to a final monument, right? It's a very bizarre game. You have to, there's a currency involved where you have to beat, or you have to buy certain things. For example, your character ultimately will have the ability to double jump. Your character will have the ability to run, and those two things combined will get you to platforms that you couldn't previously get to. But then, outside of that, like maybe you need a certain costume to get into a certain area. There's photographs of the different monuments that you can take where you get paid for it, or there's a section where you can take photographs of people and you get paid for it. But quickly you end up with more money than you actually need. Like there's no reason to have so much currency in this game because you're never going to spend it all if you do everything. And to just kind of beat the story, like you really only have to do the bare minimum. It's if you want to kind of branch out into these other mini games where you can get more currency, that's where the game tries to kind of flex its muscles. And I feel like it really fails on that. For example, one of the islands that you go to has a mini game where you can surf and you get points for surfing this wave. And if you can get the most points, like if you hit like 10,000 for your points, you get paid for it. Now you've beaten that mini game, and you can play it as many times as you like, but you'll end up with like 20 coins or something, right? But the mechanics in surfing on that game are so half-assed, it's not enjoyable at all. In fact, it's kind of frustrating. And that's a recurring theme with all the mini games. There's a mini game where you can kick soccer balls into targets. There's a mini game where you could do pull-ups and try to compete against some guy who's like super fit. There's a mini game where I'm trying to think of another one here. You have the photography ones. Oh, there's an arcade, right? There's a guy who he's like, oh, I'll give you money if you could beat my high scores. And there's 3 arcade machines in this arcade. And it's simple games. Like there's a racing game. There's, that block breaking game, like Arkanoid, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another one. I don't remember what it was. And all 3 of them are just terrible.
Oh, jeez.
They just suck. Like it's not I love those classic games. These are not good versions of those classic games, right? And this is all done. Everything in this game, aside from those arcades, anyway, everything's done in like this kind of mock 3D world where when you're in the open island, you can look 360 degrees around. You can move the camera fully around and kind of make your way through. But whenever you're in a dungeon or one of the monuments trying to get to the end and find that orb, basically you're locked out of 2 of the 4 walls. So you don't have full 360 degree control of the camera. And this makes platforming in some of the more robust sections extremely difficult because your depth perception is constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, towards the end of the game, there's this one section where you have to jump on these orbs. And as you jump on the orbs go from dark to light. The orbs are suspended over a pit of death. And if you miss an orb, you fall in the pit and you die. Mm-hmm. Now, thankfully, punishing death is not too bad. Like you fall in the pit and then you just respawn back up on the same platform in the same screen that you just died at. So you can kind of get back into it very quickly. They don't make you go through an entire level all over again. But finding the right combination of turning the camera so you can see where you're jumping and then actually landing the jump is incredibly challenging and extremely frustrating. I must have spent an hour on that section alone, and I was almost at like the point of quitting the game because of how frustrating it was. But it was basically at the end, so I just kind of like toughed through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of each monument, there's essentially a boss fight. The boss fight usually consists of you platforming and activating some sort of a rune or jumping on a platform that moves like a magic carpet or just getting this thing to kind of like land on a bomb. It's very simple. Your character doesn't have any weapons. It's all about you using the environment to the best of your ability to get you to the next phase.
Understood.
And it's a very unique game. There's a lot of love for this game for some reason. I don't fully understand it. If you look on, I think Metacritic had like let me see if I can find the score real quick here. So reviewers have it at a 79, users have it at 8.1 for the user score. But if you go on like Google, for example, 96% of players like the game, and all the reviews are like 4 and 5 stars. I am a little more down on it. I don't know that I would recommend this game necessarily.
Okay.
It's short, which is great. But like I said before, it gives you the option to do all of these different things, and it really doesn't execute any of them well. The story is pretty interesting, and I would be curious to see where it goes for a sequel, but I don't know that I have the energy to play a sequel if it plays this way.
That's unfortunate.
Kind of. It was strange for me to kind of play this sort of game in the first place. I don't usually do, action adventure platformers, but I don't know. The colors kind of attracted me. I'm like, let me try something different. I was just kind of off that high from Afterparty.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I'm kind of glad I got through it. And I'm kind of glad I'm done with it.
Yeah. I hate that feeling, ultimately. I think when there's enough takeaways that are sometimes good, then it can be warranted to be relieved when a game is done. But in this aspect, it sounds like it was not. Sounds like it was kind of like a 5, on a scale from 1 to 10. Yeah,
that's pretty apt. I don't think I would give it higher than a 6, depending on the day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just to me it's an average game. I think the controls were adequate but not particularly good, especially like the platforming, which the game is relying on. You know, it wants to be a 2D platformer and a 3D platformer at the same time, and it doesn't really execute on either very well. Trying to think of what else. You know, there's a section where you're like swimming underwater, like you actually get like scuba gear and you dive underwater. And in order to activate one of the monuments so you can get into it, you have to swim with fish, and you're guiding these fish around these 3 pillars, right? And the fish trigger the pillars to light up. So you have to get, I don't know, maybe 20 fish to swim over there. And one of the guys on the island mentions to you, hey, the fish, you know, like people. If you swim with the fish will follow you. So that's your clue. And it's very easy to figure that part out. The tough part is getting 20 fucking fish to follow you and swim around this platform and do it 3 times.
Sure.
Because the controls are so clunky. You know, pressing A is supposed to lift you up, but it's also supposed to propel you forward. And so you're constantly like, do I hold it? Do I tap it? Do I press it? And trying to find like the sweet spot between swimming and floating to the surface. And it's just executed really poorly. I don't know how else to put it.
Dang.
And then I'll go online and I'll look at other people's like reviews, and there's people that absolutely adore this game, and I haven't seen a ton of people complain about those same issues. So, is it me? Maybe.
Yeah, it sounds like it's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, I would do more research on it, but I kind of moved past the game at this point. So
yeah. Damn.
So, I mean, I wouldn't buy it. I guess it's $20 on the Switch. I played it on the Xbox One. It is part of Game Pass. It's short. Again, you know, like if you sit down with this, you could probably do it in a night or 2. So if you're out of games and you're not really sure what to buy, I think there are some redeeming qualities. You know, it's got a unique art style to it. But just the frustrating elements of the game outweigh it. Oh my God, like I just remembered about this section where you have to canoe through these different checkpoints. Mm-hmm. You know how like a racing games, like you have to go through like all these different checkpoints?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing, but with a canoe. But the controls for the canoe are so fucking bad. Like, it's
Jesus.
Just, like you're using the left and right triggers to kind of move the oar back and forth, but like they don't give you any instructions on how to turn the canoe, right? And if you've ever been in a canoe, the oars are what turn it. You know, you use one to kind of spin the canoe one way and use the other to spin the other way. But it's so easy to spin yourself completely in the wrong direction that you end up blowing the course and you have to restart from scratch. And I can't tell you how many times I did that just trying to get through this course. And then on top of it all, none of it fucking mattered because you really don't need the canoe anyway. Like you get an oar that allows you to use a canoe anytime you find one, and I think there's like this one monument that you need to use a canoe to stand on to get up to the next platform, but outside of that it was fucking worthless.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, at some point tonight, like maybe when I go to bed, sometimes I go on my phone for about like 10 minutes just to like read up on PS5 news. It's weird, dude. I have this like really strange routine where I go to bed, and if I'm not really tired and I'm not watching TV in bed, I'll just take my phone and I go to Safari and I type in PS5. I do that at least 3 times a week. I don't know why. I just do. But I think this time I'm going to be typing in Carrion, Afterparty, and the Touryst with a Y.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think it's a good idea, man.
I want to see what's going on with these games because you did a great job explaining them, but they seem like those kind of games that you really have to just see to believe.
I mean, I think for you, I think once, like, if you watch the Touryst for the trailer for the Touryst, I think you'll see it and then you'll be like, nope, not interested.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I know your personality, and that was my reaction at first too. I looked at it, I'm like, I'm not going to want to play this. Fuck it. And then I don't know what possessed me to do it. Like I'm pretty sure like I literally Googled like short games and this came up. I'm like, all right, I want another short game. Fuck it. I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I landed there.
Well, it happens. Excuse me,
yeah.
It happens.
But Afterparty and Carrion, I can definitely recommend, especially Afterparty. I loved that game. It is just, it's a wonderful experience. It is weird. It is bizarre. It is hilarious. It is so refreshing compared to like a lot of the stuff that's out there. And I've heard that Oxenfree is a very similar experience. So I'm looking forward to giving that an opportunity as well.
Yeah, I've heard about Oxenfree. I think I saw it somewhere. I don't know if I saw it on Steam or on VR. There was somewhere I just remember seeing it.
It's been a free game on a number of platforms over the years. I'm sure Xbox Live has done it as a free game with gold. I'm pretty sure Epic Store did it for free. I'm pretty sure it's been bundled with everything and known to man at this point. So, I as I was kind of talking through Afterparty, I'd forgotten that Oxenfree was by the same devs, because when I found that out, I was like, oh man, I really want to play this game now. And then I got wrapped up with the Touryst and I completely forgot about it. So I'm literally going to write this down on the air and try to add that to my list. But outside of that, man, like I'm still kind of diving into a couple different things. I started playing Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, which is the 8-bit version of Bloodstained. It is a Metroidvania through and through, made by the creator of Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wanted to check out the full Bloodstained game that came out, I want to say last year. But I heard Curse of the Moon is pretty short and it's pretty good, so I figured I'd give that a shot first. It is difficult. It is fun. It looks like a Nintendo game. It plays like a Nintendo game. I'm really digging it, but I got a little ways to go on that, so I don't have much to say there. And then last night, I fired up Spiritfarer, which I remember seeing in one of those indie showcases, maybe early this year or late last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you may remember it too, because I'm pretty sure both of us kind of tilted our heads when this one showed up. It's that it's that 2D platformer with the young girl on the pirate ship that has like these building mechanics. Do you remember seeing that?
Vaguely.
If you saw the art style, I'm gonna try and send you a photo here real quick if I can. Let's see. Well, I'll just send you the eStore link. I feel like this will be familiar looking to you once you see some of it.
Okay, let me look. I mean, that looks amazing, but I don't... Wow, look at that art.
Yeah, the art in this game is stunning. Now, I've only played, I want to say maybe an hour, but right from the get-go, basically, you are playing this girl named Stella, who has a cat named Daffodil, and you are in charge of guiding souls to the afterlife. So the tagline on Nintendo's eShop is Spiritfarer is a cozy management game about dying. And it's kind of a bizarre way of looking at it. I don't know too much where this goes, but I've already kind of gotten a bit of an inkling of it. I've interacted with one NPC so far, and basically I'm trying to accomplish her last wishes before I guide her off to the afterlife. And I guess that's kind of the hook of the game, right? You're building your ship and turning it into like a mini city and trying to take care of these souls, these spirits, and accomplishing their last wishes before they go off to whatever's next. But the animation style is drop dead fucking gorgeous. So far, the music is definitely hitting it out of the park. The dialogue is well written. It's clever, but heartwarming. I could see this being something worth your time. I'm just not ready quite. I'm not ready to say that for sure yet because I haven't played enough of it. But early impressions are good.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just drilling over this art right now.
Isn't it crazy? Like, it's just absolutely beautiful. Just jaw-droppingly gorgeous.
Yeah, this looks really good.
It's like this, for the listeners that haven't seen it, it's this very bright, vibrant, animated, kind of cel-shaded look. In motion, it's even better. Like, you're looking at, like, still pictures, I'm guessing, right now? Or are you watching video?
Just stills.
Yeah, so in motion, it is so much more effective. Like, you know, it's rare to see this sort of animation work. And there's so many little details. Like, for example, you can jump out of the boat and go swimming, and your cat follows you everywhere you go. And when you're in the water, the cat is literally like running on a ball of yarn so it doesn't get wet.
Yeah, this I love that. This reminds me of, I would say, a combination of Grease and Dust and Elysian Tale. Perfect blend of those two, I'd say.
I can agree with the Grease reference. I don't know enough about the other two games to agree with that.
Yeah, this is cool, man. This is why I like the Switch. I might get one eventually again for games like this because I think it is still the ideal system for a game such as this. With art like this. Oh man, I'm looking at the animations in the clouds. I didn't even notice.
The good news is this is also available on the PlayStation, the Xbox, and Windows as well. I'm actually playing it on the Xbox.
Now, see, that's great, but still, I'm not gonna.
But no, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna refute my point. I think I think the Switch is just such a charming little system for games such as this.
Well, like for example, this game is part of Game Pass, which is why I jumped right on it. Like I saw that sitting there, like cool. Like, I don't have to pay anything extra to play this. This is part of that. If this was not on Game Pass, I'm pretty sure I would buy it on the Switch. It is the perfect platform for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that screen, man. It's very reminiscent of the PS Vita OLED.
Very much so.
Nice quality. Telling you, man, this is an under-the-covers game.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Under the covers or on, that cozy atmosphere I like to always describe. Yeah.
Well, if I can find a way to get my Xbox in my game room with my nice recliner, maybe I'll do that. But it looks like this is going to be a little bit longer. I did a quick howlongtobeat.com search, and, there's not a lot of people chiming in yet, but people are putting it at somewhere around 30 hours, so we'll see.
Yeah, that site's interesting. I feel like it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like checking your credit score or something. You're like, shit. Please be good. Please be good.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really good, and sometimes you're like, could be better.
Well, I mean, with a game like this, it's very casual. So I don't feel like I'm going to stress myself out playing it. Last of Us was so heavy. That 40 hours... playing The Last of Us 2 felt like an eternity.
Oh, it's a marathon.
In a good way. Like, don't get me wrong, like I still thoroughly enjoyed that game, but it was so heavy and so depressing and just it wore me down. And even though this is a game that deals with a very serious subject matter and looks like it could have the potential to be quite depressing, I feel like the art style and the music and the fact that your character is like perpetually smiling will kind of reverse that.
Yeah, so. This is literally the opposite of The Last of Us 2, and as just the polar opposite. I mean, look at this. Look at that screenshot.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I want this to be a background. I'm Drew. I'm excited.
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm excited. I can't even form a constructive sentence right now with this game. I love games that have this kind of art appeal. It's just what I gravitate towards now.
There are quite a few, if you do a Google image search. Like, I just found let me see if I can bring it up here. No, that's not what I want. Give me my damn picture.
These kind of games are just shining right now because since we're not getting, God of War 2 right now and some of those big AAAs, when shit like this hits the scene, like everybody's like, yeah, no, I don't care about that Ghost of Tsushima expansion pack, Spiritfarer, dude.
Right. I think as more people play this game, it's going to get a lot of buzz.
It's what we need. The world needs games like this.
I agree.
Heartwarming, cherished, games that you can, enjoy after indulging on other negative things.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I had my criticism of Greece, but, it was a unique experience that I'll never forget.
Well, what an accomplishment, man. Like I said, we've etched these completions into our imaginary wall of victories, and I'm excited to carve my name into something next.
I kind of wish I had written down like the date that I beat these games. And maybe offline you and I can kind of touch base and try to remember what I've gone through this year. Because I remember at the start of this year, I set a goal of beating 12 games in 12 months. I fell drastically behind on that. But I feel like in the past 2 weeks, I've kind of stepped up my game. I think I'm a little closer than I thought I was,
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, though. Like when you beat a game, especially for you and I, it really is this achievement, and it becomes an announcement that must be shared with the world. So you end up, saying like, all right, let's see, who do I got to text? Let me write this down real quick. What time is it? Did I eat lunch? Like everything, you just get all paranoid because you want the world to know. And, people like Joe, he beats a game, probably just beat a game a few seconds ago, and it's just, that's just like taking out the trash for Joe Donuts, it's just, he's like, Joey, I beat that. I think it was on Thursday. It was after I ate a tuna sandwich.
Oh, yeah, and then I beat 3 more games after that.
Yeah. What do you got for me, buddy? Oh, you beat Great Set. Good for you. Yeah. What, did it take you 3 hours?
Joey bag of donuts.
Yeah. Let me get a couple powdered and 1 chocolate sprinkle.
Oh, God, he's going to kill us. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, he's going to. Oh, my God. What have we done? Well, this is just, he expects this at this point. He's like our resident troll person. This is who we troll. Yeah. He's our whipping post.
Poor Joe. Anyway, well, that's all I got, man. I just talked for an hour.
That's okay. I'm intrigued, man. You've got me wanting to do research on quite a few games.
Yeah, I would put Spiritfarer and Afterparty at the top of that research. I think Carrion's worth a look, too. I think the Touryst, I think all you need to do is watch the trailer for the game, and I'm pretty sure you'll be checked out. But maybe I'm wrong. If anybody that's listening has played any of these games and has a countering opinion or they agree with my assessment, I'd love to hear it. Shoot us a message on social media, or even better, we have a Discord room. There's going to be a link for that in the show notes. Come on by and say hi, and tell me that the Touryst is your favorite game and the fuck off, or that you agree. We'd love to have you in there. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to chat about games with you.
We can take it. Sick the dogs on us.
Yeah. I don't think there's any dogs in Carrion. Thankfully. I was just thinking of like the mechanics of like eating people and how that would apply to a dog, and I'm so glad it doesn't happen.
Dude, oh man. I just thought about 2 things. There are dogs in Inside, and they suck.
Yeah.
And then second of all, I'm coming off watching The Dark Knight, so I'm channeling my my Gordon at the end of the movie. He's like, oh yeah. No, actually it's Batman. He's like, yeah, sick the dogs on me. No, it's actually set the dogs on me, but I like to pretend that he says, sick the dogs on me.
Oh, man. I haven't seen those movies in forever.
Fun fact before we wrap the show, I read on trivia, IMDb's trivia for Batman Begins, that Christian Bale lost his voice several times while shooting the movie because he had to do the, where is he? It's probably so many times.
I believe that. That seems pretty realistic.
Yeah, I think so.
So
little trivia tidbit.
I like it. All right, man. Well, that's all I got. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this thing up?
Check out my SoundCloud. Please visit our Discord for sure. This is where it's really our home away from home. And yeah, if we're not behind the mics, we're usually in this little gray box. So find us in here. Check out our website. Hopefully we'll have some more blogs coming soon. And yeah.
Yeah, man. It's been a minute since I've done a Deer backlog, so maybe I'll try to fire up one of those soon.
Yeah, well, we've got games to play. We'll get to it.
We do. I just found out that NeoCab is on sale for $15 on the eShop. That's a game that I've been wanting to pick up for a while. Maybe I'll pull the trigger on that. I don't know.
Maybe you will, Drew.
Maybe.
Maybe you will.
Well, on that note, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See ya.